Peace to the 12, man. So, y'all see the title. These wall paintings show African Hebrews, so-called African Hebrews, right? These wall paintings, again, show African Hebrews. And you see the wall paintings on the screen. All right, we're going to go into it. I got 80 slides here. We're going to go right into it, but on the screen, right? And I'm going to give a quick shout out to the brother Tazarah, because he posted this. And I had seen this picture before, but I never went to where it comes from, right? So shout out to the brother Tazarah. He did a video titled Ancient Egyptians Painting Depicts Israelites the Same Color as the Nubians. I'm assuming that's what it says, right? So I commented down, slid down on the post, and I like brothers who got channels like this. I mean, I like all the brothers who's out here pushing the word and truth and sincerity. But I like the brothers that like to go into being studious, that go into books that help define our identity. Brothers like Tazarah, brothers like Eliah Ivory Yasharel, brothers like Saints of the Most High, and there's others too, man. Shout out to y'all for bringing out these books. Anyway, that being said, we're going to get straight to it. Anyway, I made a comment on this video. I said, I'm actually going to add on to this video tomorrow because I got a guy saying the original Copts were so-called black people. And the guy was nicknamed the father of Egyptology. Now, you brothers that study Egyptology, you probably already know who I'm talking about. And that would be Jean-Francois Champollion. But we'll get to him at a latter part of this video because right now we're going to get to this image, which is the wall painting showing African Hebrews, right? So you could actually find this image on the internet. It's on the internet. All you gotta do is type in "with and without straw, how Israelite slaves made bricks." Right? And this, by the way, because I know a lot of my people, unfortunately, only believe it when it comes through the lips or comes through the pen of the Idumean man, right? You know, because, you know, he's white and he says so to in their minds, right? So all these people that wrote this finding, this study, this research study, they're also called Caucasians. All right, all these guys. All right, and a woman, right? So anyway, it says, with and without straw, how Israelite slaves made bricks. Pharaoh charged the taskmasters in the foreman of the Israelites, saying, "You shall no longer provide the people with straw for making bricks." Yeah, you can read about that in Exodus 5. I think I included that. Well, I'll get two instances. You can read it in Exodus 5 and 6, and I'll also read it in Exodus 1, beginning at 8. Let's go to Exodus 1 and 8, and 11 is what I want. So, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people, "Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we." And that goes in with Deuteronomy 7 as well as Deuteronomy 14, where it says that the Israelites are a special people, are peculiar people above all the nations. I also read about that in Genesis when Jacob and Esau are being born. It says one people shall be stronger than the other. So the Israelites are just naturally more gifted in various ways, but in this particular sense, I'd say physically than the other nations, and that's according to the Bible. But anyway, I've touched on that before. But come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And they said the children of Israel are mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Right? Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities like Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Yeah, they try to do that to us now. Make us work night shifts, give us food deserts, make people desperate to where they commit crimes so they can get caught up in the prison industrial complex, so they can do slave labor for 5 cents on the dollar in a prison. And they do all types of laborious processes, and they make them all that money. So though they are afflicted, but we still increase in numbers. All right. But it says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick and all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And also, I'll probably do another video on this topic, but there's a so-called Caucasian author who wrote a book. I can't remember what the book's called off the top of my name, but I can find it. But he stated that the slavery that the so-called African Americans faced in the Americas is very similar to the slavery that the Israelites faced in ancient Egypt. That's what he said. But that'll be another video for another day. Continuing on. Salaki for that. In Exodus 5 and 6, it also talks about the straw and brick. Exodus 5 and 6. And Pharaoh commanded the same day the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, Ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and the tale of the bricks which they did make heretofore, ye shall lay upon them, ye shall not diminish aught thereof. For they be idle, therefore they cry, saying, Let us go and sacrifice to our God. You see, so he wanted them to always be working. Didn't want them to be idle, because then they would start to remember, or they remember to sacrifice unto the Most High their God, right? And that's what they do now in this society. They try to keep people as busy as possible so they don't question things, right? Because if you're out here trying to get this money, which is understandable, then you're probably not reading too many books. You're probably not looking up the intricacies of the corruption of a governmental society because you're too busy getting the money. You hear me? All right? But anyway, which is nothing wrong with that once again. But anyway, so right off the rip, right, somebody could say, well, they're not all so-called black. This guy, he's a light shade of brown. What about that? Well, like I tell you all the time, so-called black people come in all different shades of brown, right? Different shades of African Americans, right? It says African American skin varies in tones and shades from caramel, almond, hazelnut, toffee, java, espresso, ebony, and deep ebony. All these different colors, right? As a matter of fact, I can give you just two quick examples of so-called lighter-skinned African tribes, all right? Because what they like to say is, oh, man, if you're a light-skinned, then that means you're mixed with another nation. Not always the case, all right? That's pseudoscience that people often throw out there. And I'm going to give you two African tribes, maybe even three, I can't remember who all listed, that were said to be a lighter shade of brown to like reddish brown, right? So first we're going to go to the book, The Lost Tribes of Myth by Alan Howard Godby, a guy that was born in 1864. He was a Methodist historian, teacher, writer, scholar. He dealt in Old Testament, Hebrew history, archaeology, and Semitics. Now, we're going to go to this book, The Lost Tribes of Myth. We're going to go to this page. I don't remember the number of the page, but this is an insert for the book. It reads, Phut is the son of Ham. That is Vandal of Egypt. Now the Falas, who have pushed across Africa from Somaliland to, what's that word? Senegambia and the lower Niger. Have very tradition that they are descendants from Phut, the sons of Ham. Right? So these are people that claim that they are Hamites, right? Now when we go down, he says they call themselves the Pool, the Fool, the plural Poolby or Foolby. Ruddy, check this out, ruddy, clear, brown people. All right? So a ruddy, clear, brown people. And I'm going to pull up a picture of the Foolby people. All right? The Poolby, the Foolby, right? These are the Fulani, because Foolby became Fulani later on. These are the Fulani people. All right? As you see that clear, ruddy, brown complexion. A lighter shade of brown. A lighter shade of brown. What Jake in Hip Talk calls a red bone. All right? They're all reddish brown. They're clear brown. All right? And these people claim that they're Hamites. Now, I've had a brother, he typed in my comments. He said, actually, they are more akin to the original Ishmaelites. I don't know. I have to really look more into that. The Fulas, the Fulani tribe. I really haven't went that much deep into it. But, all right. So we know right there, the Fulani, they are, like this so-called Caucasian historian said, they are a clear brown people. And that's clear as day. Now let's go to another part that says about lighter skinned so-called African tribes, right? We go to Gerald Massey, the English poet born in 1828. He wrote a book titled A Book of the Beginnings, Volume 1. We're going to go to page 17. We're going to go to the highlighted portion for sake of time. He says, the red skin, similar to the complexion of the earliest men on the monuments, is not an uncommon variety of the Africans. Meaning what? There are ruddy, red-skinned Africans. That's what that means. Bowditch asserts that a clear brownish red, now he says clear brownish red. Now, didn't we just read about the clear brown people of the Fulbe tribe, right? The Fulanis, right? Now, it says, Bowditch asserts that a clear brownish red is complexion frequently among the Ashantis. Also, deep black is the prevailing color. Now, I can say this to a certainty that a large portion of the Ashanti tribe are Israelites. There's actually pictures and photographs that show that to be the case, as well as historians and people that were venturing in that area in the 1800s and before even that. And I might do a video on the Ashantis at another time. But he said the Ashantis come in a clear brownish red complexion as well as a deep black, right? And there's a singer by the name of Ashanti. Now, I don't know if she ever bleached her skin or whatever, but regardless, as you can see, that is a clear brown reddish complexion. And then even when you type in the Ashanti tribe on the Google machine, you have the dark-skinned Ashantis right here. Then you have the reddish brown, the reddish brown, the reddish brown, the reddish brown, the reddish brown Ashanti tribe. That's clearly what he's talking about. So when you think of Africans, do not automatically think that everybody looks like a Sudanese. I say Sudanese because they say the Sudanese people are the darkest people on the planet, all right, in the Sudan region. And I even included another tribe in Africa, I believe it's in southern Africa, that also comes in that reddish brown color, which are the San people, or the San people, however they say it. As you can clearly see, that's clear brownish red, all right, the San people. Find them in South Africa. All right? And let's touch on this word ruddy because I said it. Remember, this guy already called the Fulbe, the Fulanis, he already called them ruddy, clear brown people. He called them ruddy, right? Now let's touch on this word ruddy because the word ruddy is grievously misused today by people that are disingenuous. Now, when you go to the word ruddy, which is mentioned in things like 1 Samuel 16 and 12, 1 Samuel 17 and 42, Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, Lamentations 4 and 7, the word ruddy, it means red, which is correct, but it's really dealing with the reddish hue, right? It's really dealing with the reddish hue, and it even says this, right? It reads, the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Once again, now, first of all, he just said that the Hebrews were dark-skinned, meaning on average, the Hebrews were dark-skinned, and they found great beauty in a clear complexion. Well, we already read about a clear complexion. The Ashantis had that clear brownish red complexion, right? And then we heard that the Fulani had that clear brownish red complexion, also known as ruddy, right? These are, once again, two Caucasian scholars, and as well as the San people who I showed on here. Now, yet today, when you type in the word ruddy, and then you know, this all the time where it says, let me get this real quick, it says Psalm 5 and 10. People always quote this in my comments. Most of the time, they're Caucasian. They say, my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. This word, you cannot go to Song of Solomon 5 and 10 to say that the Most High is a so-called white man, because this word white means radiant, clear, and ruddy. All right, did I include that? I don't believe I did, so let me get that for you real quick if my computer doesn't get too slow on me. Right? 1 second, man. 1 second. Because we're going to touch on this word ruddy. We're going to show examples of ruddy as well. Songs of Solomon. What is that? Songs of Solomon 5 and 10. 5 and 10. 510K Bible Hub. Because when it says my beloved is white and ruddy, it's not talking about his skin complexion. Now I'm going to prove that. Bear with me 1 second. It's lucky for the time. Anytime I start recording, internet always gets super slow. Nothing I can really do about that. Come on, man. Well, I'll wait for this to load, but at the time, let's continue on, right? So as when you look up ruddy now, it'll show you these people. Like I type in ruddy, and they'll show me gingers, so-called white women with reddish tones, right? That's what they'll tell me ruddy means. you know. All right, bet it just loaded too. Songs of Solomon 5 and 10. Different versions of the same verse. Come on, bro. What the hell? All right, bet. Dang, this is super slow. There we go. All right. Here we go. So this is Songs of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 10. Other versions, at least, of the same verse, which we will get right here. So when we go back to Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, it says, my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. That's what people try to use, right? But this word white is translated as bright or radiant or clear. And I'm about to prove that. Right? Let's prove that. So this is on the Bible Hub, Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, the NIV. It says, my beloved is radiant and ruddy. So it doesn't say white. All right? Then it says, my lover is dark and dazzling. Radiant and ruddy, dazzling and ruddy, white and ruddy, dazzling and reddish, dazzling and ruddy. So that's what I'm talking about. So, but anyway, they'll say that this is the definition of ruddy. And they'll have people thinking that, oh, a ruddy means a ginger, right? Well, not quite. Because when you type in a ruddy animal, like a ruddy cow, for example, you get a brownish red tone. You type in a ruddy horse, you get that brownish red tone. You type in a ruddy goat, you get that brownish red tone. You type in a ruddy cat, also known as an Abyssinian cat, which we'll touch on the Abyssinians in this video. You get a ruddy cat, you get that brownish red tinge. All right? So when it says King David is ruddy, when it's talking about ruddy, that's a brownish red tone. All right? As you can see, the red is coming out of the brown complexion of their skin. The same color as the horse. Same color as a ruddy duck. This is an old picture of typed in a ruddy person. This what popped up. See that? So you can't allow modern sources of media to depict to you what ancient words mean, because they're going to try to hide it from you. That's what they like to do. Very few people are honest when they make these what do I want to say? When they make these new definitions, I'll say that. Like, for example, the Moors, even though I've already done a video on it, but the word Moor goes back to a black person, literally. And that's in any old Latin dictionary. I'm not even going to go into that right now, because that's a whole video I did. You can check it out. I think it was called The Word Moor Means Black, Proof, something like that. But anyway, so that's what ruddy means. And like he said about the Ashanti tribe, there's a clear brownish red complexion, frequently found among the Ashantis, although deep black is the prevailing color. So you have black Ashantis, you have the ruddy Ashantis, right? The clear brownish red, which makes sense because, like I told you, we come in all shades. And like the definition of ruddy told you, that the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion, which would be a clear brownish complexion. But we also came in darker shades, like what people also call black. And I'll prove that now in Songs of Solomon 1 and 5, where it says, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. So she was saying that she was black like the tents of Kedar. These are the tents of Kedar. As you can see, they're pretty dark. They're pretty black. All right. In other versions, it says, I am black, I am dark, I am black, I am black, I am black, I am black. So she's letting you know she's a dark-skinned woman. Now, back to this research study that these people did on these, like the video states. What was that called, this video? These wall paintings show African Hebrews. Let's show this. Let's show what I highlighted to prove that, yes, these are in fact the Israelites. It says, slaving away. Nubian and Semitic slaves mix water and mud to create mud bricks, while a seated Egyptian official on the upper right oversees their work. All right? Oversees their work. And as you can see, he's dark-skinned. Now, these are Nubian and Semitic slaves. This is what they say. If you ask me, they're probably just Israelites. But let's just go with that, right? So he said Nubian and Semitic slaves. Now, if you can clearly see, you can't tell the difference. All right? You can't tell the difference just based off of skin complexion. Why? Because we're the same shade which is of a dark shade of brown. All right. Right? But I'm glad he mentioned Nubians, right? Because we're going somewhere with this. There was a Muslim historian, an Egyptian historian, by the name of al-Makrizi. I'm probably saying it wrong. Al-Makrizi was a medieval Egyptian historian, biographer during the Mamluk era, known for his interest in the Fatimid era and the early periods of Egyptian history. He is recognized as the most influential historian of pre-modern Egypt. So he is recognized as the most influential historian of pre-modern Egypt. That's what they give him as accolades. Now, he wrote a book that was originally written in Arabic, but his works were translated from Arabic to English by Solomon Caesar Milan. This guy right here on the screen, Solomon Caesar Milan, he was a translator. All right, he translated this guy's Arabic text to the English, and we're going to see what he had to say about the Nubians as well as the Israelites, as well as the Abyssinians. So this is Solomon Caesar Milan. He was a translator. He published 50 works. You know, he had some importance on him. Anyway, this is the book he wrote, A Short History of the Copts and of their Church. All right, the Copts, right? We're going to go to page 72. And as you can see, hold on, let me go here real quick. It says, translated from Arabic by the guy I got a while ago, al-Makrizi. Al-Makrizi. Translated by who? It was translated by S.C. Milan, which would be Solomon Caesar Milan. Now we're going to go back to page 72. This is what he had to say. All right. He says, know that the land of Egypt. Well, what am I doing? I'll go to the highlighted portion for sake of time. The other portion was the whole people of Egypt. The whole people of Egypt who were called Kibbut and were of mixed descent, among whom one could not distinguish Copt from Abyssinian, Nubian, or Israelite. So one could not distinguish a Copt from an Abyssinian, from a Nubian, from an Israelite. And they were all Jacobites. Jacobites is going on to the Israelites. And that also proves that the Jacobite rebellion was dealing with so-called blacks. I'll do a video on that another time. But the Israelites, the Nubians, the Abyssinians, and the Copts, you could not distinguish who was who. Why? Because they had to have looked the same. Otherwise, you'd be able to distinguish it. Because guess what? If I walk into, I don't know, Romania, right? I'm going to stick out immediately. They're going to be like, this guy, he's probably not from Romania. Same way, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, he says, so the Copts, you can distinguish the Copts from the Abyssinians, the Nubians, and the Israelites, and that's what I'm going to deal with Copts, but they're going to deal with them last. But what is an Abyssinian? An Abyssinian, for those of you that know, Abyssinian was an earlier term for the word Ethiopia. All right, its origins are around 1270, though it's preceded by several organized societies stretching centuries in the past. So Abyssinia used to be a place they called Ethiopian, right? So we all know what? The Ethiopians are different shades of brown. Some would say black. As a matter of fact, the word Kush, which goes back to the Ethiopians' land, the word Kush means black or burnt face. Right? So we know the Ethiopians are so-called black, correct? Now, that goes what? It says, the Abyssinians, you couldn't distinguish them from the Israelites. You couldn't distinguish the Nubians either. Well, these are the Nubians. Yes, so-called black people as well, right? And they were not, you couldn't distinguish them from the Israelites, right? I'm still a little bit under the weather, but we'll deal with it. Now we'll go with the Copts. Now, who are the Copts? The terms Copt and Coptic are variously used to denote either the members of the Coptic Orthodox Church, the largest Christian body in Egypt, or as generic terms for Egyptian Christians. These are the Copts, correct? Now, when you look at the Copts today, you can be like, oh, wow, see, look, they look more like so-called Arabs. You know, so-called Arabs, right? Which even the term Arab in of itself means mixed. But I have a source, like I promised the brother Tazarah. I have a source that states that the ancient Copts were so-called black people. And not only that, the guy who said it was nicknamed the father of Egyptology. So let's get that source right here, right? Let's get that. A source that says that the original Copts were so-called black people, that the modern inhabitants are hybrids of a mixed ethnic groups. Let's prove that by the father of Egyptology, they say, Jean-Francois Champollion, right? Born in 1790, died in 1832. Jean-Francois Champollion. He was an Egyptology or Orientalist, a French philologist. Yeah, and he was nicknamed, who is usually called the father of Egyptology. Jean-Francois Champollion is called the father of Egyptology. Using the Rosetta Stone, he's able to decipher the ancient Egyptian language. So he is known as the father of Egyptology. And this is what he had to say in his literary work, Lettres Israelites de Egypte et da Nubie, 1828 to 1829. Now, let me translate that for you, because I bet most of you can't speak French. I can't either. So it translates to letters written of Egypt and Nubia in 1828 and 1829 by Champollion the Young, new edition. That's what it translates to in his book. And we're going to get to the highlighted portion, because you can find this letter that he wrote on the internet for free. So this says a bunch of French stuff, right? I went ahead and translated this part. This reads, Appendix Summary Notice on the History of Egypt, written in Alexandria for the Viceroy and delivered to His Highness in November 1829. That's what this part says. Now we're going to go to this part, which is the important part, that says that the ancient Copts were so-called black. Let's prove that. All right. So I went ahead and translated all this from French to English, and it reads this. This is what he said in his letter. He says, the first tribes who populated Egypt, that is to say the valley of the Nile, between the cataract of Aswan and the sea, came from Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, or Sennaar. But it is impossible to fix the time of this first migration, which is extremely ancient. Now check this out. The ancient Egyptians belonged to a race of men quite similar to the Kenis or the Barbarous, current inhabitants of Nubia. So the ancient Egyptians belonged to a race of men quite similar to the Nubians. I've already proved that the ancient Egyptians were so-called black. Go watch my most recent video. I've done many videos, but go watch my most recent video, which was titled, what was it titled? Moses was a black man according to Muslim tradition. But anyway, Kenis and Barbarous, current inhabitants of Nubia, we do not find among the Copts of Egypt. See this? Look at this. Let me highlight this. Let me highlight this real quick, right? Let me get this in pink. We do not find among the Copts of Egypt any of the characteristic features of the ancient Egyptian population. See that? We do not find among the Copts of Egypt any of the characteristic features of the ancient Egyptians. And he's going to tell you why, right? The Copts are the result of the confused mixture of all the nations which successfully dominated Egypt. It is wrong to want to find among them the main traits of the old race. So like I tell you guys all the time in a lot of my videos, a lot of people are walking around in a lot of lands and they're just multi-generational hybrids pretending to be something that they never originally were. Not to say that some of them aren't actual Egyptians or whatever have you, because we all know according to the Bible, you are who your father is. That's in Numbers where it says the pedigrees were based on the lineage of their fathers. It's also in Ezra where he says when those people were rejected because they could not prove that they descended from their father's house to prove they were Israelites, right? But anyway, just wanted to say that. But there's a lot of people walking around in a lot of lands that are multi-generational hybrids. Just remember that. And I went ahead and translated the other parts too. It says the ancient Egyptians belonged to a race of men quite similar to Kenis or Barbarous, current inhabitants of Nubia. I went ahead and reinterpreted because it cut it off right here. So I just wanted people like, why did you cut the rest of the letter off? Oh, there it go. But anyway, and that's why we say North African, or certain North Africans, let me be clear here. Certain North Africans like Moroccan Salahuddin Bencheki, he looks like Drake. Looks like Drake's cousin, like Drake's brother. And we all know Drake is the combination of a so-called black man and a Caucasian Jewish woman. All right? Don't they look very similar? I wonder why. So what happened to Egypt? I've done this before to the Egyptians. And like he said himself, like Jean-Francois Champollion said himself, let's go back. He said the Copts are the result of a confused mixture of all nations which successfully dominated Egypt. Yeah, and they did successfully dominate Egypt, which is why they have the traits that they have now to make them look like the rapper Drake. And it says, what happened to the Egyptians? Well, you had the Macedonians, Alexander the Great. He invaded Egypt, and Alexander the Great was an Amalekite. I done proved that a million times, which goes back to Esau. Amalek is the grandson of Esau. But Alexander the Great, he was in Egypt from the Macedonian to the Ptolemaic Egypt, which is 332 to 30 BCE. That's 300 years. Then you had Rome, which ruled over Egypt for 600 years. All right? For 600 years. And then in 640 AD, you have, in June 6, the Arab Muslim army sent by Caliph Omar begins siege of Heliopolis. City succumbs. That's Muslim conquest of Byzantine Egypt. Then you had the Ottoman Turks, which conquered Egypt in 1517 to 1867. All right? And the Turks were Caucasian Muslims. And you mix all that up, that's where you get your modern audience. All right? A modern Egyptian, quote unquote, right? And even so much so that in the census, the Arabs are counted as white in the American census. Check this out. There's a reality. This is from NPR. The U.S. Census sees Middle Eastern and North Africans as white. You would wonder why. I've seen people say, oh, it's because of money. It's because this is to increase the numbers. Look, they know what's up, right? So it says, there's a reality about race in the United States that has confounded many people of Middle Eastern and North African descent. The federal government officially categorizes people with origins in Lebanon, Iran, Egypt, and other countries in the MENA region as white. I met this Iranian chick. She looked just like a so-called white woman. Couldn't tell the difference. But she told me she was Iranian. You know, whatever, right? But anyway, so before I go, I might as well show you some wall engravings and wall paintings of Israelites before I get up out of here. Now, you go to the Lachish reliefs, which was the Assyrian victory over the kingdom of Judah in around 701 BCE. In the Lachish reliefs, you'll find out what the Israelites looked like because they were engraved in a wall. All right, these people right here that you see, these are the Israelites. These are the Assyrians. These people right here, right? Now, we're going to get what Edward Plumtree, who was an English divine and scholar, wrote about, and he was born in 1821, in his book, Assyrian and Babylonian Inscriptions in Their Bearing of the Old Testament Scriptures. Now, we're going to go to page 448. This is what he had to say about the Lachish reliefs. He says, it is significant that the captives are for the most part represented as having woolly hair as though they had belonged to the Ethiopian army of Tirhakah. So he says that these people had woolly hair as though they belonged to the Ethiopian army of Tirhakah, right? But when we go to the Assyriologist, Sir Austin Henry Laird, he states that these people that had hair like Ethiopians, these people were actually Israelites. This is from Sir Austin Henry Laird, the Assyriologist, born in 1817. He was an Assyriologist, a traveler, an art historian, draftsman, collector, politician, diplomat, so on and so forth. He wrote this book, Discoveries of the Ruins of Nineveh and Babylon. And he's going to tell you these same people found on Lachish reliefs, these same people are in fact Jews. This is Discoveries in the Ruins of Nineveh and Babylon, page 129, which reads, the captives were undoubtedly Jews. Their physiognomy was strikingly indicated in the sculptures, right? So they were undoubtedly that. And if you look at the Assyrian relief, these are the Hebrews in captivity. Look at their hair. This is a mid-century African woman bronze head sculpture. They have the same hair, right? These are Assyrians flaying Hebrews alive. These are Africans. This is an African sculpture. Same hair, right? Clear as day, right? And just to throw in, this is a Sarsen's head of Italy, probably Florence, circa 1500 to 1520. A Sarsen's head of Italy. This is a so-called blackamoor. He's got the same hair texture. This is a blackamoor sculpture, antique. He's got the same hair texture, right? Which links up because we are compared to the Ethiopians, right? We are compared to the Ethiopians. You can read about that in Tacitus. Tacitus was a Roman historian and politician, born in 56 AD. In page 399, Tacitus reads, he says, many assert that the Jews were an Ethiopian race driven out by fear or hatred to seek a new home in the reign of King Cephas. So he says many assert that the Jews were an Ethiopian race. Isn't that interesting? Now let's go to Amos 9 and 7, which reads, Are ye not as children of Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord Yahawah? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? Right? So he says, are you children of Israel not like the Ethiopians? Now, I've heard a rabbi break this down. He was saying, no, in the same way that the Ethiopians are different in their skin color from everybody else, it's the same way that the Israelites are different from everybody. I heard him break it down. I don't think that doesn't make sense because you have the Dravidians, who are just as dark as Ethiopians, and yet they are not Cushites. They're Dravidians, which really come back to Elam, and you can find them in southern India. All right? So that doesn't link up, but nonetheless, like I promised, so that's one example of that's one wall engraving. Now I'm gonna show you a wall painting, and this comes from the book Picture History of Jewish Civilization by Bezalel Narkis. Right, born 1926. He wrote this book. This book is $1,000, man, $854 and or $398. Right, Picture History of Jewish Civilization. Expensive books because they got expensive truths that they don't want to get out. Now, shout out to the brother Elijah Yasharel. He brought this book to my thing. But if you see here, these are so-called black people with afros. Dark brown-skinned people with afros. In this book. Right? So, simple as that. I had another photo. I guess I didn't put it in here. But, that's pretty much it on that. I done proved my point. So, like I told the brother, I was going to elaborate on that post. Hopefully, this was an edifying lesson. With that, I say peace to the 12, and I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahawah, in the name of His only begotten Son, yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of the Heavenly Father, who is commonly known as God, and yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, who is commonly known as Jesus Christ. I want to say shalom, which means peace, to you people listening and learning, you brothers doing this work, truth and sincerity, and to you elders that's been doing this thing before me, man. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to keep exposing these truths. I'm gone. Shalom. Peace.